everyone. Welcome back to another episode of When IT Hits the Fan. We are exploring the entire healthcare IT sector and seeing how to make a better future from payer to provider to patient. I am Christian Patillo. I somehow still have a job despite saying that our sponsor is Rhino Healthcare Services instead of Rhino Healthcare Solutions. So perhaps enthusiasm only has saved my job from yesterday. Today we're here with Piyusha Perera. Can you please tell us, as if you're explaining to a 5-year-old, what you do?
Oh, yeah, I mean that's what I do every day almost. Yes, ma'am. So right now I am a director over at a health plan, um, and I oversee 4.5 functions in this space, all geared to making things easier for our customers. So I can elaborate on that, or take a step back and just tell you how I ended up in this side of things. You tell me.
Why don't we do your path here first, and then we'll go through all of the specifics. So if you'd like to share.
Sure, yeah. So let's see. For the past 15 years is what my career has kind of that lifespan aspect in, and I have been doing some industry hopping, heavy industry hopping for those 15 years, starting from just leaving grad school with my master's in public policy. I've been in the government side of things, nonprofit to manufacturing to entertainment to even a little stint in the IT area, instructional design wise. And now the latest is on the healthcare side, to be very specific again on the health plan side of things. And in what I do right now, it's all about operations, keeping things as easy as possible. I like to call myself a lazy workaholic. I cannot stand tedious stuff.
I love that in your LinkedIn. Go ahead and explain that. When we were first looking up you up to have on the show, I was like, oh, but I have to get her here.
Yeah, what it's about is a really pet peeve of mine. Tedious stuff. Do not give me tedious, or give me tedious stuff actually. But what I'll do is I'll try to either make it go away or find easier, better alternatives to arrive at the solution, right? Because there's always better ways of doing certain things, with especially automation, IT, and the double-edged sword that is automation too. And we can get into that a little later.
Well, all these conversations end up in AI these days, but we'll do that a little down the line.
Yeah, exactly.
But just like you're saying, hard work is great. Work for work's sake is where we lose hours, we lose budget. Absolutely. If you'd like to go into more of the specifics of exactly what you do, you work on the payer side of things.
Absolutely. So when I say customers, it's really the employee groups that employ my organization as their health plan. So they can vary from they come from all sorts of industries.
Yes.
And with those industries, they have varying demands and varying needs that go beyond just the product, which is the health plan products, right? So where my team really focuses is sort of not maintaining, but making better that life cycle throughout the engagement of that customer with us. So again, moving beyond that just product delivery, product quality, we look at, all right, what's the customer really going through? Is it a good experience or a bad experience? From contract execution all the way to whenever they need for us to complete assessments, RFPs, they need to come in and audit us. Like, what are they experiencing as a customer? Are we being difficult? Are we just having our ducks in a row for being ready for those types of requests? Is it a streamlined process? And also, in the meantime, are our own interests, my company's interests, also being sort of in check, right? Because customer service goes, it's a give and take. There are risks involved. So just looking at that whole landscape is what my team does. So in the 4.5-ish functions, it's all operations based. That contract part I talked about, it's really understanding that life cycle from when we start that relationship with the customer. It's not as easy as just putting ink on paper to solidify that relationship. It has to do with negotiations. It has to do with really understanding what each provision means, bringing together subject matter experts from both ends to make sure that they understand now that they are on the hook for whichever provisions we're gonna agree to, right? So before we say, yeah, sure, let's do it, handshake, we need to understand each and every single line item in that contract. So to do that, we need a process in place to make sure our functional owners, subject matter experts, first are okay with us just going out and saying we'll do things, because certain things can be prohibitive in nature just based on the fact that we are a health plan, right? And not just any other type of vendor. So again, it's very industry based, and we need to bob and weave, but just really having those different roadblocks and checkpoints to make sure we're not agreeing to things we really shouldn't be, or things that would really put us at risk, is what my team does in that space. And then the data security part, that's actually where I started. Is there was a time where everything kind of went into a black hole, if you will, where customers would want to know how we go about protecting their employees' data, and we just take those requests and dump it over onto the subject matter experts area, just because no one knew better, and there really wasn't true processes, just because the volume of those requests weren't as much, and it didn't justify. But then, of course, now it truly justifies, because every customer is concerned about data security. So just like that, a function that I own now was born with
And the laws,
exactly.
as much as staying compliant, absolutely.
Yep. So in that space, what my team does really is make sure the specific requests go to the appropriate subject matter experts, and then turnaround time, right, for those
Absolutely.
requests. It doesn't just hang on someone's desk for months. It get SLAs and just things that we need to do internally to make sure that people actually take these requests seriously, because for the most part they're side of the desk kind of stuff for the subject matter experts, but really making the case internally to leaders to put more resources into these spaces, because customers really are looking for this, and they so much so that it could come to the point where they might even threaten to walk away because we're not giving them these things that aren't considered part of the product, organically speaking.
Absolutely.
So what else? Yeah, two other functions, again, very operations based. One has to do with private exchanges, just like figuring out what the brokers need from us, again, maintaining sort of that efficiency in both ends. It's very step by, like, what do we need? Do we need a policy? Do we need more SLAs? Do we need so those are the questions I always have my folks asking, without just kind of getting into a rut of doing the same thing over and over again, without having those checkpoints to reevaluate. Is this truly adding value, or is this just like, oh my god, kill me now work?
Yes, absolutely. So we have contract, actually drafting the contracts. We have data security, private exchanges, and when you see me look down, I'm taking notes. And one more,
Audits. Yes.
audits. If you'd like to share just a little bit about
Sure.
that.
So that's when, again, our employee groups either employ independent auditors to kind of do their, not dirty work, but audit us, or they do the audit themselves, right? They would come in, the auditors, regardless of who they are. And for the most part, they're the big auditing companies that keep getting the business for especially the jumbo accounts. That actually helps, just so we know what, it helps when the auditors are sort of the same, so we know what
You know how to deal with them.
exactly. And it's what my team does is facilitation, making sure the auditors get what they need, and also throughout the audit, make sure that our interests are
Are protected as well.
protected, exactly, but at the same time ensuring that transparency is key. We're not doing anything shady. We're giving them what they want, but streamlining the process, because timing is everything too. Like, how frustrated are the auditors, because that'll probably show up in the results too, right? And just relationship building. So with it, again, automation, figuring out how to keep on improving these processes, where in terms of sharing these claims data with them for them to do the audit. How are they going to retain? Are they going to retain it? How are they going to destruct it? And all that stuff needs to go, and especially after COVID, because these audits actually used to happen in person, where it was paper
Yeah.
stories they used to write, and transforming that and like, I see that as a blessing into a digitized space.
I was about to ask. I feel like it's safer and faster digital. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I'm the wrong person to ask what's the downside of it. Well, the downside is access issues, and people can't get access. But I mean, it beats buying a ticket and having
But
to
also
travel.
sharing the login into the information, that sounds like it would even be faster, so long as everybody knows how to use the technology. But that's
Exactly.
an entirely different situation, as we both know. Um, so moving into this, our center part of the interview. Um, you are in marketing for a very large payer. Um, what would you say that in your time in healthcare IT, what has been the largest challenge that you and your team has faced? How did you overcome it? What did you learn?
Well, how to pick, all right? Like, what's the biggest challenge?
Oh, we've got time.
Oh
Ooh.
yeah, so I would say truly in prioritizing sort of that continuous improvement, being able to come up with sustainable, repeatable processes over and over again. IT is a no-brainer, right? Just like really understanding what solutions are out there to take processes that are archaic to the future, or the present even, is a challenge in and of itself. So it's all about change management, getting people to see the light, see the benefit of
Not just the how, but the why.
exact.
IT people are so good at how because we're puzzle solvers. But why we're doing things sometimes gets lost.
Absolutely, and that's key, and that's a great question too, because sometimes that keeps us honest in terms of, because some people I know, I might have been guilty of doing this at some point too, getting caught up in the sexiness of any IT solution, right? Just because it's out there, everyone's using it, and our processes are just so ugly and archaic. We just really want to change it. Getting too caught up in the sexiness of it is lessons learned for me, right? And
Certainly.
automation, I think that's the key, where just really being able to find a better way of doing things without having to write things down, or even sending emails. Like, how do we get a program to bring those emails and figure out what the data is and organize it the way we can keep on using it, stuff like that. But then the double-edged swordness of it all comes with, where do we stop? And that's very important to ask. And your question about the why is what keeps us honest. Like, what are we trying to accomplish right now, right? Just because we have kind of a whole spectrum of things that we can use, does it make sense for us to use all of it? Probably not, right? And then with automation, with anything comes over customization of any tool, right? And that truly is a lessons learned for me. Like, my first couple of projects of just doe-eyed, really being carried away with all the cool stuff technology had to offer. Just like, it was like that first PowerPoint presentation where all the animations, oh my
Oh,
gosh, right? Like, I can see what I can do, kind of stuff. So
yes.
yeah, bad call on it. So from those lessons learned, what I always have my team do is really have those backup contingency plans, right? Like, if everything goes to just hits the fan, what's our backup plan, right? Like, have a contingency plan that is not completely dependent on whatever solution, whatever new solution is key for me every single time. So even if
Absolutely.
it's just going, just as pathetic as going back to just basing it on emails, let's have that documented somewhere so that someone, if we the worst happens. I don't know what type of weird stuff happened now, but we know what to do in that scenario. So I use that sort of thought process for every single function, not even just the functions I own, but any project I take over to.
Let me ask you right on that. I find so automation 100% can save man hours, time, effort, sanity, everything. But when, let's call them IT shops, everybody's individual IT shops, even departments within the same shop, start to do their own little tiny trinket automation. Um, One, keeping the best practices documented, as well as onboarding new employees to the tricks that this system can do now that we've edited it, now that we've tailored it to our own needs. It can be quite difficult. Have you found any difficulty in that in the past? How have you gotten over onboarding new employees onto like the specifics of how your individualized system runs?
Oh, absolutely, every day. And it's not just with one tool, right? Like there's multiple ways we use new tools, whether it be a new RFP tool that we're using to automate how we generate responses, having the tool look at our repository of canned responses that we have. We're having AI essentially kind of match it up, and then having a human intervene and just check, is AI doing the right thing, or is AI just being stupid about it, right? And from that type of thing all the way to just something very simple as a milestone tracking tool, just
Yes.
using very basic technology to put together something that sends out notifications, and all they have to do is just click a button here, click a button there, rather than having my team go to them each time. Are you done with this? Are you done with this? Are you done with that? Are you done with that? Like sort of empower other people to be self-sufficient, so that we're not using heavily paid resources, highly paid resources to do simple things like sending out notifications and collecting the data and stuff like that. So all that, however, makes perfect sense on paper, but executing, operationalizing it, and then the change management of it all, it's just
Uh-huh.
really being able to. And for that, for me, I really try to put myself in each and every person's different shoes. Albeit I don't do it well all the time, because sometimes it's like, why don't you get it, kind of stuff. But for the
Exactly.
most part, it because they all have feedback is feedback, right? Like, well, if we're trying to present something, a solution or a new way of doing things, we really absolutely must receive all the feedback there is. If not, there's going to be a huge blind spot, and we're going to be back in the same kind of silo we were trying to dig ourselves out of. With it, just having constant forums, office hours to understand their grievances, taking the time, I call it an investment, to show them, handhold them through every single
Yes.
click, and even with it, just be open to their feedback, not dismiss it, not be condescending, not be, because they might have, and really trying to dig into, okay, tell me, just walk me through what you're kind of feeling now. Level of intervention is what I try to kind of train my staff to do. It's hard. It's hard, and there's
Yes.
no like special ingredient or special way of doing things that works for every single thing. But it's always just like, it's as cliche as it. Take a step back and really reassess and bob and weave, and just it might not be perfect. We might have to kind of fumble and figure it out, but just don't.
And do different iterations. It's all about growth.
Yeah.
So we let the AI genie out of the bottle. I always let the guest say the word AI first, so that I'm not leading the conversation there. But it is the topic of 2024.
Yes, it is.
So firstly, I always say AI, the name, artificial intelligence. It's great branding. There is no intelligence home in that product. It is a tool, just like a color picker on Procreate or a macro in Excel. It is predictive. It is finding the averages of large swaths of data. Um, how do you feel that, especially now that we are in this conversation of automation, um, what do you feel about AI? Are we terrified of it? Are we excited for it? Are we a little on both sides of the fence?
I am extremely happy about it, but of course, trying not to be naive, because I mean, there were times I'm like, what is wrong with you, AI? Like, that's not what I asked. Like, give me what I just asked, you know?
Yeah.
And like having that actual debate with AI, I've done that, as embarrassing that is.
100. I have too. No, I've heard it described that perhaps it has intelligence, but intelligence is different than wisdom. Intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad, and it misses the mark on that human element. Also, being able to tailor things to specific situations because it is all about averages. It is trying to guess what is the perfect thing for all problems always. It can't look at everything from the amount of angles that its handler can. Um, but what do you think about teams learning how to work beside it, implementing with it? Is it coming for our jobs, or should we lock up the doors?
I say embrace it head on and not shy away from it, because that's how I think, and this is, like, no one should listen to me, but my opinion is that if we shy away from it, that's how we're gonna be left behind, right? Learn what it can do. And also, I know there are, and where I mentioned not being naive, of course there's risk, of course there's data sharing, risk of just how much do you want to rely on AI for something, versus, because are we making ourselves stupid by relying so much on AI? That's one side of the coin. The other, of course, is in order for AI to help me, I need to share documents,
Yes.
data, all of that. So unless it's sort of in a data lake, whatever the IT terminology is within, if unless it's all insulated within the
Yes.
organization.
How can we protect ourselves and our clients?
Exactly, right. So just being cautious, of course, not being too naive, but absolutely use it, because the time saved for it. But use it. But I was trying to come up with a nice like cliche there, like don't abuse it kind of thing. But no, use it, but read through the output, right?
Don't trust it.
Don't
I,
trust
I I don't want to
it.
say it that bluntly, but
No, don't
it's a
trust it.
wonderful tool. But for the love of all things, check its work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exact. Even with how we currently use it in the organization, I'm not talking about kind of the tools that are out there for the type.
For public use.
Exactly. Just things like I said, in the contract side of things, where there is an AI functionality where we feed it the contract and it'll essentially auto redline using the repository of canned responses. We have that, our legal and subject matter experts validated. So what AI is doing is just, kind of using its intelligence to redline it to the. But no, right? Read it, because it's a contract. Read it, make sure it makes sense. But as far as the question of then why do it at all if we're still doing the work? No, it definitely does cut time, right? You're not literally like redlining each and every single
It is a
paragraph.
tool.
It is a tool. Thank you. Exactly.
Yes, no, I completely agree with everything you've been saying. Um, so, can I ask, and I have a feeling AI may come up in this section as well, but maybe stepping away from that topic, what are the big issues that you're facing? What is coming down the pike? What would you warn someone new to healthcare IT about? Um, what do you foreshadow that is coming towards us that perhaps we should be educating ourselves or planning against?
For me, the challenges are just what I mentioned. It's all about not just catching yourself from over customization, over utilization of any tool, really, right? Like really understand what is your backup plan. I've seen life cycles or cycles enough to know that not everything lasts, right? All things must come to an end for one reason or the other. It might
All
not be the
technology these days lasts 3 years, and then we got to move forward.
exactly. Even if it's not a technology, maybe it's a reorganization, right, in your company, and for whatever political reason, things may shift. So just be mentally prepared for anything, and beyond that, have a contingency plan for anything IT, right? Even
Oh
if
yes.
IT isn't like IT isn't my space, I use IT in my space, and because of it, I know to have those sort of backup plans, contingency plans, whatever you want to call it, right? Just paranoia. Let's call it what it is, right?
No,
Don't be
it's
paranoid. It's a
wisdom.
message.
Is it wisdom or is it paranoia? It's a question for the therapist, and luckily we both have health insurance. But yes, going back to that idea of if someone new is entering our field, or perhaps let me angle it from a different side. What secrets have you learned over the years about keeping a teen sane and together? About keeping things on track, keeping things organized, the day to day that can get very messy very quickly if someone isn't watching.
Oh, from a team's perspective, it's all about quality of life, work-life balance, right? Like priority. Prioritize your family, prioritize yourself. No one else is absolutely going to do it, right? But for me, for my team, that's what I try to create, is a conducive environment for them to trust that they absolutely can prioritize themselves and their family. And it's just more than just saying it, making sure, again, here I go to the backup thing, right? Making sure that they have proper backup on paper, right? For whenever they need to take time off, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a planned time off, right? Things happen. They need to feel safe that they can in fact do that, because their work will be handled at least in the short term, right? So for as a manager, that's my accountability. I feel I take there's no exception but for it to be my accountability to make sure that the
Absolutely.
environment is set for my team. So absolutely work-life balance.
And we're reaching the end of our 30-minute session, and so let's end on something more positive. Where do you see things growing toward? Expansion, things getting both easier but also more cohesive. Yes, AI. But where do you see us moving toward? So many of my interviews keep being like, "Have you heard about this thing? It's called artificial intelligence, and it's everywhere." But what do you see on the optimistic side that's coming towards us?
I just see possibilities everywhere. It's really taking the time to see data, because IT to me is all about data. For me, my new purpose in life, in work, is understanding what types of ancillary data we have access to, and making sure that we're not wasting rich information coming at us from these types of requests, from these types of grievances, escalations. Even if it's a customer just whining about something, there's data in it, right? So collect it, organize it, categorize it, use AI to make sense out of it, develop insights, and that is going to be like a gold mine that is
Yes.
rich with new information that now you can inform your marketing leaders, your sales leaders, to sort of, I mean, the blind spots everywhere. I see so much potential in sort of that leverage and utilizing ancillary data that people pretty much ignore for the most part. All data matter.
No, it really does. And IT is secretly just data management in wearing different fun masks and hats and capes. But yes, for our last minute, one last question. If you could go back in time and tell yourself a piece of advice when you were closer toward the beginning of your career, what would you tell yourself?
Oh my goodness. I probably make myself cry with everything. Oh my god. Really, with the lessons learned, like I said, it's about just slowing your roll, and again, cliche, taking a step back, ask the why question, right? Like, what is the value add? What are the roadblocks? Play devil's advocacy, or play devil's advocate. with yourself, with every single project that's in front of you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for making time for us today and coming on the show. This has been When IT Hits the Fan, sponsored by Rhino Healthcare Solutions. I am keeping my job and saying our sponsor's name correctly. Thank you so much and tune back in next time. Bye.
Okay, thanks for having